Now, the key thing about the presentation is, I think, and this was a great example. Last year, when I sat with the group, we had a group of about 30 kids, and there was 4 or 5 groups of 6 kids or so doing their presentations. About 6 groups. Every time the kids were doing their presentation, they'd have notes like this. They'd have notes like this, and they'd often start with, "Hello, I'm Scott Poynton." I'm like, you don't need notes to know your name, mate. And I think that, and this is Mary, and this is John, and this is Isaac, and this is Elijah. I'm like, you don't really need your notes to know the name of your mates. And so you're missing an opportunity right from the start to engage in your audience right there. But I just want to talk about notes. So it's okay to have notes, but not an encyclopedia, right? Because what happens as you're talking, sorry, I've just dropped my notes. And they get out of order, the notes get out of order. Oh, hold on a minute, I've just got to get the notes back in order. Oh no, I've dropped them. Sorry, I've dropped them again. Okay, so, excuse me, that's what happens when you've got too many notes. So if you're going to have notes, I just had a little bit of paper there. So if you're going to have notes, maybe just a couple of cards, small cards, just some summary points on them, okay? But I would also say, remember that these things are just prompts for you, okay, in case you don't remember what you're trying to say. And this comes back to presentation. The other thing is, make sure your glasses are clean so that you can see everyone. I'm just getting that hoodie off. I made it a bit dirty. Okay, so preparation. So we've covered notes. Don't have too many notes. Maybe just have a small summary note where you can have some dot points written here. Okay, but preparation becomes really important because you've spent, maybe as a group or individually, a lot of work on your project. You know your project. Okay, you know it better than anyone in the audience, and that includes parents. As soon as parents and teachers turn up, young kids, particularly students, get a bit nervous. Oh, golly, they know far more about it than I do. That's not true. They're busy grading papers and all sorts of things, and you've studied this particular topic in depth. So no one in the room knows it more than you do. Okay, so you don't need to be nervous. You can be confident. But the more preparation you do, the greater your confidence. Okay, and a great example last year was every presentation last year when I sat and watched these 6 groups of 6, they all had their notes and they were reading out PowerPoint slides. We'll come to the slides in a minute. And then, of course, questions came. And when the questions came, they didn't have notes for the questions. So, they put their notes down and said, has anyone got any questions? And questions came from the audience. And what happened? The kids didn't say, hold on, I just need to check my notes. No, because they knew their subject so well, they just opened up and they spoke to the audience. And I'm like, this is fantastic. These kids know their stuff. Why didn't they do that during their presentation? So that was a key point that I made for them last year. You were great when it came to questions. Why weren't you great the whole time? Okay, so actually, I've got my notes here in my pocket. Have some summary notes, but keep them out of the way because you know your stuff, so confidence. But if you're standing at home and you've made your presentation, prepare your presentation. Do it to yourself. Here I am in my little office here, stand up in front of no one or invite Sam over and he'll come and listen to you, right, Sam?
Anytime.
And just present and practice. So what does that do? So you start getting a narrative. And you start thinking, actually, that point 4, that should be point 2. So you start moving it around. You start seeing the flow of making your argument to the audience much more effectively. And you get confident and you stumble and you say, oh, no, I didn't mean to say it like that. But when you're doing it at home, it's okay. So practice. Then, if you want to, invite your parents in or your siblings or a few mates around, and then practice there. You can do it in front of a mirror as well. Okay, so by the time you actually stand up in front of your audience, you know your stuff pretty well. And of course, as a group, you need to do that too. You need to practice. What did you say this morning, Sam, when we were talking about this, about the groups? What's the important point you raised about when you've got a group of kids?
It's just important for everyone to have a voice and for everyone to make a point, and not for someone to take over the whole presentation.
That's right, because that happens too, right? You get kids who are really confident in the subject, and other kids who are a bit nervous that maybe the subject wasn't what they wanted, and they didn't get into it as fully as they might have done, so they're a bit nervous. But we need everyone to speak, because if you've got a group of 6 and you've got 1 or 2 people doing all the talking, then the audience starts wondering what's going on, what's wrong with that, and they get distracted from the main game.